but the kids notice that. You know, you noticed it. The kids notice it. And again, you have an opportunity to talk about it. Don't rely on these materials to give you positive messaging, because it doesn't happen. A lot of times the message is kick the kid out. I mean, we get this in school too, expel those kids. The popular media, when we published a study on this chicken and the egg issue, and I read the blogs that were after the part in the newspaper, and there were two things that really struck me. One was kids don't have mental health problems. This woman's just trying to create business for herself. The other one was those bullies should just get rid of them. Don't let them be in your school. And that's popular view, and it comes out of popular children's literature. So again, I think you need to say, okay, is this a good solution? What would be an alternate solution? There's also a mention at the end of the bully dance of the parent possibly bullying this kid. So you could create a little empathy for the kid who's being bullied. And again, I think we blame parents all the time for their aggression, and we feel sort of merciless in the face of what goes on at these kids' homes sometimes. But I think we can create school universes that are kind and friendly and safe. And the kid who most needs a kind, friendly, safe school environment is the kid who's having a lot of trouble at home, you know, whose parents aren't showing them that. So if you say nothing else, then I know that maybe how aggression works, or what works in your house, or it works in your community, but in our school, we behave like this. We want everybody to feel safe. We want everyone to feel like they're comfortable here, like they're not going to be hurt. In our school, in this environment, this is how we behave. And we want you to be part of our environment. And some of the restitution stuff, I think, works really well to hold on to those kids who are violating everybody's norms. One of the programs actually that's been working on bullying and uses some of the WITS resources is a program that was set up for Girl Guide leaders, and they did a lot of that. You know, how do you build a cohesive group? You know, how do you find, I think of that movie Blindside, you know, how do you protect your family even when your family is your classroom, you know, or how do you protect the other Girl Guides? And she's done a lot of work on group process and how to manage groups. And one of the things they really advocate is don't leave people in the same group too long, because we immediately have, you know, survival island or island survivors, and we have this group, you know, competing against that group and leaving them out. So, you know, even mixing the groups with a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on an everyday basis, so people are not always working with the same kids, kind of builds a little cohesion. So there are, I think, a lot of teaching techniques that would allow you to do a much better job with this. I know another principal who really found that kids who were coming into her office because of WITS violations really just didn't know how to talk about their emotions, didn't know what they were doing. So she had this really cute little book called How Are You Peeling, which is a bunch of vegetables. It's adorable, a bunch of vegetables with different emotional expressions. And the kids tended to be able to pick out how they were feeling from the vegetables. And then the vegetable would give you a label of, you know, this is anger, this is sad, this is lonely. How else can you get your needs met? So when you're going to be seeing these kids who are repeated offenders by the time they're in 4th, 5th, 6th grade, you know, you're really going to have to unpack some of that stuff. It's not so easy anymore. You can't just teach them not to hit each other. So the did it work? Again, thinking about consequences. Did the things kids did in these books work? How else should we have handled it? Did it work for the bully? Did it work, you know, even in relation to the film? How did it work out for the kid who was victimized? You know, how did it work out for the kids who were standing around? How might it work out? What's your fantasy? And the Jake the Drake is a good book for that. Doing little novel studies, kinds of things. The seek help is, again, a big issue in the WITS Leads program. How do you know when to seek help? If you're the kid on the program, if you're in the ambassadors program, you might think you can handle this on your own, but when do you know when you can't? And so they go over and over these rules in that section of the book. How you know you should seek help when someone could get hurt, where the situation is making you afraid or uneasy, where it's something you can't handle alone, and where what you tried didn't work. And if you can answer yes to any of those questions, you need help. You need help as an adult. If you can answer yes to these questions in relation to a conflict or in relation to something that's happening to you, you should be getting somebody to help you. And if you have a WITS enough community that where seeking help is normative, you are building the expectation that someone knows how to fix this, that you don't have to know, but we can figure this out together, It's not necessary to continue to be victimized. And if I can't fix it, I'm going to get the counselor in there to give us some suggestions. And we're going to, go to the principal. And everybody who we know who knows how to make a difference here. Some of my other teachers, they really understand how to do this. And one of the things Christine was bringing up was, when is it appropriate to get kids together and when isn't? It's always appropriate when they're little because they need you to help them come together and solve the problem. But when they get to be 6th or 7th grade, sometimes the person who's being victimized may not just be comfortable with an immediate confrontation of the person who's hurting them. And maybe they'd rather learn some personal skills that they could try out, some jokes or some, how to stand up for yourself, or get your own friend and stay with your friend. Not being alone on the playground can really take you a long way in terms of not being bullied. Having your own friends. So, at that point it may not be that you want to actually just go and confront the bully directly with the victim. The bully may need some other kind of attention that brings out their high leadership qualities or their great puppeteering. But they also, those girls who do the puppeteering need to be given more challenges, more leadership kinds of activities, but they also need to realize that what they're doing is cruel, is mean. And we need to label this stuff for kids, because I'm not sure they get a lot of rewards out of it. It makes you feel strong, it makes you feel dominant, it makes you feel popular. But you're not going to be liked eventually. If the kids who are liked are kind and fair and socially responsible. The kids who are socially dominant ultimately are, by the time they get to grade 7 or so, the research is showing these are popular kids, but they're not liked. They start to make that distinction.